Hello everyone and welcome to the CBZ Ruck Show, the hottest, the littest and the dopest show that's coming out of schoolboy rugby here in Zimbabwe. It is just heating up and the show is heating up as well every single week, bringing you the local as well as national stuff that is happening with our under 18s going to Craven Week. That's all coming up on the show. My name is Robbie Durant and I've got a legend right next door. He says not a legend, reviewer. Hello, how you doing?
I'm fine. My name is Rimbo Chakoreka and there's a lot to be talking about today. But before we actually talk about that, we have to send out a shout out and say congratulations to the Zimbabwe national cricket team. That's the Chevrons. They've been doing awesome. 4 out of 4 wins in the group stage. And that very, very tense win against West Indies, the way that they were able to do that was absolutely phenomenal. So I think at the end of the day, we have to say congratulations, a shout out from the CBZ Ruck Show. Continue to go forward. We hope you definitely make the finals and ultimately qualify for the ICC Men's Cricket World Cup, which will be held in India, Rob.
Well, reiterating congratulations to the Chevrons, a massive win against West Indies. They now flick off to Bulawayo, which is going to be quite interesting. 3 games in Bulawayo. Obviously, this is all about rugby, but we are certainly supporting our boys. 1 foot in the door to the World Cup, and that is going to be immense. And I've just got to say to all the supporters out there, a big, big well done. You guys are getting behind there. You are the 12th man, so congratulations.
Oh, yes. So let's look at what is coming up on the show today. We do have schoolboy rugby. We're looking at nurturing champions. We're also going to be looking at the Nutriactive Player of the Week, the Kairos Sports Worldwide Tracker. We're going to be having a chat with Coach Marvin Chirume, who's the Zimbabwe under 18 Craven Week side head coach. Is going to be talking a little bit about their preparations and obviously what he continues to expect from the players that he has to select, because there are some particular skill sets that he would be expecting in order to play a particular game type, because he has to determine that. And we're going to be having to hear from him around that. And obviously a review as well as results and the rankings, how they stand for this week after the weekend's games. And then finally, we also take a look at the presenter's license, where we are going to be either going off on a rant or we are also going to be going off on a bit of, idea searching on things that can develop our rugby.
Well, coming up after this, we did catch up with, there were big games over the weekend, Peterhouse as well as Falcon. It was big games, St. John's, and it was massive clashes that were over the weekend. We're going to be catching up with a couple of the captains and also dissecting those games coming up.
CBZ Bank brings you more convenience and more smiles. Introducing CBZ Remit. Now you can send and receive Forex anywhere in Zimbabwe without a bank account. No hassles, no stress. CBZ Remit is safe, secure, fast and reliable. Who can use CBZ Remit? Anyone. CBZ Remit is perfect for both CBZ account holders and non-account holders. To send or collect cash, all you need is your national ID or valid passport. US dollars or rands accepted. Receive your cash at any CBZ branch near you. 40 branches available nationwide for your convenience. CBZ Remit is very affordable. Charges only 2% of the money sent. Send and receive your Forex anywhere in Zimbabwe with CBZ Remit today. CBZ Bank. Partners for success.
Welcome back to the CBZ Ruck Show. A reminder to follow us on all our social media platforms on Kairos Sports. You can also watch all the big games coming up over the weekend on Kairos Sports. It's one click and you are in. Let's talk a little bit about rugby and the opportunity that it does give to youngsters. A lot of people paint it as a barbaric sport. It is a barbaric sport played by gentlemen. I've got to just add that to you. But let's talk about the amount of respect, discipline that it instills into teams and into kids, into players, as well as obviously looking at the sportsmanship and bringing in all those other aspects that we need to go out into the big wide world and to achieve our goals.
Oh, one thing I can tell you, Rob, from a personal experience is that rugby, what it was able to teach me from primary school all the way up, it gave me friendship. Quite a number of the friends that I currently have right now all emanated from rugby, whether it was from within the school or outside of the confines of the school, from different schools. We were able to then, what can I say, graduate our conversations to different things, but all on the basis of rugby. In actual fact, at the cricket, I got into a very serious corporate box, and I met up with one of the friends that I had seen at a rugby match, and then we started talking rugby, and everyone else that had walked into the corporate box with actually had to walk away because our conversation was totally different. So rugby does a whole lot, particularly for the youngsters, and you had a pretty interesting conversation with the Peterhouse captain.
Well, I chatted to Tadiwe Madimotsira, got that right today, and he certainly was, I'm telling you, I was so proud of the young man when he came out, and he congratulated St. John's on their performance, spoke highly about his opposition, and that's coachable, but it's also commendable from the young man, where they had achieved a good goal and a good result against Peterhouse, but to still have the sportsmanship to thank his opposition, promote them and push them, and obviously it's going to be mouthwatering when it comes to the 22nd of July, because it's now game on again between the two teams, and that's happening at St. John's, where we are going to be covering massively there. We're going to be at 12 o'clock, empowering the youngsters, giving them an opportunity, and I think that's what it's about. Rugby empowers the generation, and it's up to us to make sure that we install that.
Oh, yes. So let's get to hear some of that conversation with Rob and Tadiwe Madimotsira.
Fantastic, outstanding play there by you. Good team effort as well, but as the captain, you really are leading by the front.
Thank you very much. So I just want to say what a fantastic game of rugby, where teams really came out, played their hearts out. Fantastic crowd, fantastic atmosphere. It was just a really good day to play rugby today. And I'd just like to thank the supporters of Peterhouse. They really backed their boys up. I mean, St. John's is probably one of the best teams in Zimbabwe right now. So beating them really, it feels right. And it probably puts us up there in terms of the best teams in the country at the moment.
You're in the Craven Week side. You obviously you guys are leaving next week.
So congratulations to the captain for Falcon, Huntsman Greaves. Now, Huntsman, this is obviously the third time me speaking to you, and this time round, it is also another smiling day for you. Fantastic execution. You were able to put so many points, but at some point, it was looking a little bit tricky there.
Yeah, I know. In the beginning, when St. George's scored their first two tries, I kept making sure that the boys' heads were up. Mm-hmm. I told them not to worry, we'll get back at it. Mm-hmm. So we did that.
All right. One of the other things that I did also see was, particularly when you really got your backline working and moving, feeding off the balls that you were presenting to them. I mean, Kolwani, Tigere, Vuyani, all of them were just on the money today, and St. George's couldn't handle it.
Yeah, no, I mean, because we mainly focus on slowing down play, so we could become more clinical this entire week, which I feel like we lacked that against St. John's 2 weeks ago. So I feel like it's just us slowing down the game.
Well, that certainly shows that sportsmanship was the winner of the day over this last weekend. Well done to those captains out there that are acknowledging your team, your opposition. It was exciting stuff. Right, we are going to be covering the games that were played over the weekend. Stay tuned.
With CBZ Touch, pay for whatever you want. Transacting on the go. With CBZ Touch, like that on my bills. Take insurance, special loan. With CBZ Touch, pay for whatever you want. Transacting on the go. With CBZ Touch, like that on my bills. Take insurance, special loan.
Welcome back to the CBZ Ruck Show, and it was all big results and massive results that happened over the last weekend. We're covering it all here on the CBZ Ruck Show, your newest schoolboy rugby show coming out of Zimbabwe, which is covering schoolboy rugby. Talking about results, Ruby, there was some exciting, not exciting, and some pretty interesting games over the weekend.
Oh, yes, we start off in Esigodini Falcon with a 45-21 win over St. George's College. Peterhouse were able to just survive by the skin of their teeth, but a massive win nonetheless, 38 points to 31 against St. John's College. Loma Gandhi were in a railroading mood as they won 48 points to 0 against Kyle College. Eaglesville also were not taking any prisoners as they won 45 points to 5 against Petra. There was a very close one out in Marondera as Hillcrest beat Watershed College on home turf, 27 points to 21. That was also another very close one. Heritage did the business on their own home turf with a 24-17 win against Hellenic. We're going to be talking a bit more about that. And then Goldridge also seem like as if they're really going through the gears now with a 53-10 win over Tinwald. And then CBC, who had dodged a bullet in terms of playing the Prince Edward Tigers and had mentioned that they were writing exams, decided to lay exams aside and invited the Elephants of Milton. And the Elephants of Milton trampled all over them on home turf, winning 13 points to 10. Well, go figure. When you ditch another and you take up another one. So, Robbie,
so don't ditch the dodo, buddy.
Yes, don't ditch the dodo. Who knows? Maybe he might have stunned Prince Edward. But
yeah. Well, look at Heritage, good win as well. I think Gordon Pangechi and those boys must be smiling from ear to ear. Going into Peterhouse, it was an incredible game. It was, against St. John's. St. John's came off a brilliant clawback against Falcon. It was almost like deja vu. I thought I was seeing deja vu again. Sharma Jackson was absolutely outstanding, and the 2 tries that he created. But Macmillan as well at scrum off, he looked up for the first try, looked up and basically saw the space, went the blind, and obviously a delayed pass to Sharma Jackson, and that's what created that pass. But when you see a winger running at full pace and he swerves, it is just beautiful to see. So just incredible stuff by the young man. But like I say, I think it was almost like deja vu sitting in that commentary and saying, are we going to see another Falcon St. John's clash where they came back and clawed their way back? I mean, it was only 38-31. And that was the final score. But let me tell you, it was one of the class games of the CBZ show this year.
Oh yes. Well, coming down to Esigodini, I am yet to really fully analyze the Peterhouse St. John's game, but I am sure the Kings were able to just fix some of the strategy around that. But coming down to the Falcon and St. George's game, it was. It wasn't really a game of 2 halves. It was a game where the first half was at parity because Falcon went just about leading at the halftime break. But St. George's had come out of the blocks really quickly, and it really was up to how they were able to distribute the ball, send it out wide, and they were able to just stretch the Falcon defense. But somehow, some way, they kind of just lost their way. And when Falcon came back into the second half, they were just phenomenal. Kolwani Moyo did phenomenal to actually bring Falcon back into the game because St. George's looked like they were going to run away with it. Vuyani Ngube also then had a really good game. He was able to score 2 tries. But man of the match, it was Tafadzwa Tigere from the fullback position. Initially didn't find his bearings with the boot, but once he got into the second half, he just kept popping them over, try after try. And then for St. George's, unfortunately, did not have enough men to look to. The only man who really stood up in that entire game was Muganda, who was their 8th man. He had fantastic line breaks, but the rest of the squad just could not come to the party. So I think at the end of the day, that was the undoing of the Dragons, and the Mad Dogs were able to howl, to bark. I'm not so sure what Mad Dogs do. I don't know if they howl, they bark, or but in any case, they were able to do it.
Be careful. I would like to highlight quickly just with Peterhouse, there were a lot of standout players, but Tadiwa Madimatsira, he was really the standout. He was our CBZ man of the match for the game. And also I've got to single out Macmillan. He was playing with, I think, a dislocated shoulder. He had a little bit of time to get right. His distribution was outstanding. It's probably one of the best distribution I've seen personally in Zimbabwe right now. And his vision to look left, look right, pass left well, pass right well. He really is a great player. Even his box kicking was outstanding. So certainly, I've got to say, a brilliant play by the two young men.
All right, as we're sealing this and rounding it all off, let's quickly take a look at Heritage versus Hellenic. Now, Heritage coached by Gordon Pangeti, and then we know as well on the Hellenic side of things, they've got an array of people that can feed into that. That's the likes of Liam Middleton himself being the sports director. Then you've also got Daniel Hondo, who's a well-renowned coach, particularly on the club circuit, coaching Harare Sports Club. For them to come out with a 24-17 win shows that Heritage is doing something right. And they have been notching up those victories pretty much alongside the likes of Gateway, Eaglesville, coming back into the thick of things after that Derby Day loss with a Gateway. Yeah. So I think Heritage there will count this win as something very significant and a step in the right direction for the season.
Ruvi, I think as well, looking at Gordon Pangeti, he's instilling the systems there at Heritage. He's an astute coach. He spent time in the UK playing rugby. He came back, he took over, obviously, a director, and certainly has instilled those systems and obviously infiltrating that into the junior teams for Heritage and empowering there. So a big shout out to Heritage, your development. We know Gordon is involved in the national junior systems as well. So a big shout out to Heritage as well.
All right, so as we're coming towards the end of this, let's look at the rankings, because everybody will say, yeah, we heard the results, we heard the wins, we heard the losses. What does that mean? And so still sitting on top, regardless of the fact that they had a really good break to kick up their feet, Prince Edward is still sitting right on top. Peterhouse have risen into second position with that really good win. Falcon as well, now in third place with that good win against St. George's. St. John's College drops to fourth. Loma Gandhi, unfortunately, due to coefficients and calculations, they drop into fifth place. St. George's are sticking in sixth place. Churchill in seventh, and Christian Brothers College, who dumped the dodo, are right there in eighth position. So that's what it looks like. If you'd like to see more on the rankings, you can be able to go on the Kairos Sports Facebook page, and you can see the full-on rankings for all the other teams that are lined up below.
Well, looking at Prince Edward, they're on 82.2, and then Peterhouse, Falcon, St. John's, all basically on 78. So it is tight. It's a tight race. And then dropping down Loma Gandhi on 77.5. So it is a tight race for the top there. Prince Edward slightly ahead, but this is what the CBZ Ruck Show brings, is the excitement for the teams to get up onto the top there. And remember, this is CBZ Ruck Show's rankings.
All right, so coming up in the next segment, we are going to be looking at the Nutriactive play of the week. And believe me, it was a very tough decision to make.
Every achievement, every record broken, every standing ovation, every proud moment is a product of an empowering relationship. At CBZ, we believe in the strength of partnerships and growing together. Together, we have collaborated in building roads, offices, homes, and bridges. We have partnered in the fields, have gone down shafts, and blasted quarries, all while protecting assets, managing investments, safeguarding wealth, and helping you transact. We have supported big and small businesses and the ones in between with a helping hand or sound advice. As we celebrate what has been, we look ahead towards what can be. And while we can count how long we have been around, our achievements will always be quantified by your success. CBZ, Partners for Success.
Welcome back to the CBZ Ruck Show, and we now have the Nutriactive Plays of the Week. And we were both at two different games. I've got to say that the Play of the Week, Ruvi, for the Kings versus the Rams certainly was Sharma Jackson. That delayed pass with Macmillan going blind, just a slight delayed pass, pushed it to Sharma Jackson, and let me tell you, individual brilliance by the sprinter and this incredible rugby player. Check this out, incredible stuff.
Macmillan, Arts, to the blind, here we go, the jet shoes, the step and go, it's try time! Absolutely brilliant. Individual brilliance here at Peterhouse.
Sharma Jackson.
That was our Nutriactive Plays of the Week, number 1. Number 2, obviously that was a brilliant try.
Yeah, look,
I mean,
that was a phenomenal try. And I think at the end of the day, Peterhouse are now doing what I expect them to do. Use that backline, use that pace within there, and you'll be able to actually destroy your opposition. Most likely they will go with that for the rest of the season. Hi, Dave. But in any case, let's now look at the Nutriactive Play of the Week from my game, which was the Falcon and St. George's game. I think it was a wonderful set play move by a Falcon. St. George's were left dumbfounded. And I think the beauty of it all is when you see a forward sidestepping a backline player.
Oh,
take a look.
Beautiful.
Just started really strong in the first half, and then Falcon had a really good flourish to end that half. I must say Liam Batchelor has played a very good or a key role in terms of getting quick ball out, which allowed Kolwani to score a try. Tigere has also got 2 tries that he's been able to get through, but his boot has been deserting him. Now Tatenda Runyoa, the tank, he's going for it. He's gone past it. He's going to dive over, and immediately the Mad Dogs get that one.
2 exciting tries there by the Nutriactive Plays of the Week. Ruvi, let's talk quickly about Nutriactive. How nice is that?
I love the cereal. I love the cereal. Look, one of the things is every time I actually find like one of their stands at any one of the sporting events that they're at, I was there at the cricket, I always, just grab a little bit of a cup or a bowl there and have a little bit as well. I think it's a fantastic product, and it adds to, of course, the nutritional values that these kids definitely need in order to execute some of that stuff. But let's quickly go through this. Rob, we've been seeing some fantastic plays throughout the season. Is there one that particularly rings to mind right now, overall so far in the season? Of course, we're going to talk about the top play of the entire season when we get to the end of the season. But so far, has there been anything that really rings to mind right now, which was like so pivotal?
Well, I've got to say that Falcon disallowed try was right up there. I think that could have been an incredible play of the season, to be honest. And also this one that's on selection for the Kings with Sharma Jackson, to me was one of the best individualistic tries, obviously with the help of Macmillan to the blind. But I think if we can select by the end of this season, it's going to be electrifying to see what our Nutriactive Play of the season is going to be.
Oh, yes, it's going to be absolutely amazing. I think in my own view, as well, obviously going to be shutting this one down. I think for me, Manuel Maguta Corner, Peterhouse versus Hellenic, that very first game, able to kick and chase and score off your own kick.
Wow.
That's phenomenal. But in any case, would love to hear your thoughts and comments around that. Which play you think so far has been the play of the season? But that's Nutriactive Plays of the Week done and dusted for today. We're now going to be taking a look at the Kairos Sports worldwide tracker, and we're going to be looking at someone who's no stranger to the schoolboy rugby scene, one who blew things apart and now is doing really well on the international stage, and that's Matthew Oworu.
Okay, today we are joined by Matthew Oworu, who is a Zimbabwean Canadian rugby player. You're 22, right?
Yeah,
You're
I'm 22.
22-year-old rugby player. He's played for Churchill, played Zim under 18s twice, played for Zim under 20s, Zimbabwe Steelers, Pit Bulls, Sevens for Canada, Sevens national team, and 15s national team. That's a mouthful. But thank you so much, Matthew, for joining us today, and welcome.
Yeah, I can't lie. Rugby wasn't the first sport that I got into. I was like, we grew up in like a very sporty household, so like the sport that me and my brother James would play the most would probably be basketball, and we also we played a lot of soccer too growing up, which it's obviously funny like now because I can't even kick a ball, but yeah, between basketball and soccer, I personally enjoyed basketball more, so I'd say like basketball was my first love in terms of sports.
Okay, and at what point did we get to rugby? Do you remember the first time that you picked up like a rugby ball and played?
Yeah, for sure. So obviously I never like played rugby when I was in Canada. I barely knew what the sport was. And then when we moved to Zimbabwe, I was in grade 5 for sure. So 10 years old. And we had this he was our PE coach, Mr. Moria. He's like, nah, you two, he's pointing at my brother and I, he's like, you two, all this soccer stuff, you guys need to leave it alone. You guys are supposed to be playing rugby. And we're like, what? Like, what's rugby? And so he basically forced us to stay at school. And yeah, so that's pretty much where it started. Like I remember our first session, I didn't even know what I was doing. I just knew that this coach said I'm not going home. So I'm like, all right, I might as well try it. And then yeah, the rest is history.
Okay, so it starts with you and your brother at, I think, Lewisham Primary School it was, and you get introduced to rugby by this PE teacher. And then after that, you went to Churchill High School.
Rugby wise, I'd say for now, I'm focused on becoming an Olympian. That's one of my bigger goals. And we actually have our Olympic qualifiers in August. So yeah, we're pretty much building towards that, and we're very excited for that. That's definitely one of my goals, and I mean that's always been my goal as a rugby player, is to be one of the best players in the world and to be considered that by my peers, which are obviously the best players in the world, and that's a goal that I truly believe that I'm capable of reaching, and that's on my mind every time I step on the rugby field. And I definitely want to transition eventually to 15s full time, which is spoiler, which is something that yeah, that's definitely a goal, and to just continue playing rugby without too many external things like hindering me externally. So in order to do that, I feel like I have to be playing 15s full time.
With CBZ Touch, pay for whatever you want. Transacting on the go. With CBZ Touch, my data, my bills, take insurance, special loan. With CBZ Touch, pay for whatever you want. Transacting on the go. With CBZ Touch, my data, my bills, take insurance, special loan.
So I've got a very important man, especially within the rugby pipeworks, we would say, especially considering the fact that we focus on schoolboy rugby. I've got the head coach for the Zimbabwe under-18 Craven Week side, that is Marvin Chirume. Marvin, thank you so much for coming through to the CBZ Ruck Show.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, so Marvin, let's get straight into it. You have selected your side. a good bunch of youngsters who have been doing really, really well, even for their own schools. How has the gelling process actually been like working with these kids?
Well, we had our main camp over the half-term break, and I think we did a lot of the stuff that we need to do, and the kids have come on pretty well. The gelling process, as you put it, is still work in progress, but I think we've come in leaps and bounds, and our kids they played a game, first one versus the under-17s, and then a second one versus the under-20s. And I think just going by that, I think we've come a good long way, but hopefully we'll do better as we're getting into the academy week.
All right. So how much pressure generally do you, tend to go through? Because this is obviously not your first time working with youngsters, particularly at this age group. How much pressure is there to try and make sure that these boys at least have a semblance of the kind of rugby that you want them to play, and get them to do it well enough?
Each year is very different because of the type of kids and where they come from. I mean, this year we've got quite a wide, selection of schools that these kids have come from. And each coach is very individual in the way that they approach. So you kind of have to come through and try and, unteach at certain times things that they've been taught at their school and try and get them to play your kind of rugby. So each year is very different. So this year it's been particularly difficult because of the range of schools that we're dealing with. But it's always a good challenge. It's always an interesting challenge to do some of these things, and to then see them grow and start to play the way you want them to play. That's always the most satisfying part of it.
All right. I think I've got a major question, and I think it's a discussion that we know will definitely be within the comments box and things like that. There's the issue around basic skills development. At under 18, how much of a challenge are you facing with that? There's obviously a demand for a flyer to at least within this day and age to be able to find touch, just find touch. 50-22 might be interesting, but just find touch, and scrum halves and things like that, having to do many of the things that are required of them in modern day rugby.
I think it's a very interesting question. So I think one of the issues that we generally deal with is, as a coach at a high school, they're judged basically on results. So most kids are taught how to then produce a team result. And yet, I think up until under 16, the emphasis needs to be basically on individual outcomes. That is the part that we're missing, because there's so much pressure on coaches to produce results. They overlook the individual development of kids. So oftentimes when kids come to under 18s, you find you've heard lots of great things about that particular child, how fantastic a player they are. So you're really looking forward to it. So they then come into your camp, and you now have like some basic requirements that you want these kids to be performing for their particular position. All too often, our kids are let down by that aspect now, that they're not properly developed in the individual skills. A child that's big at under 13 is just given a ball and asked to bash through and score a try. But no one then takes the time to teach them how to fall correctly, how to pass. They never learn how to pass because they're so big and they're running through everyone. So they never learn how to pass. It's a skill that now at under 18, because rugby is a late developer sport, so the other kids have caught up in terms of size and speed and everything. So now they need that aspect, and that is the aspect that's actually lacking. So you find quite often the ones that were celebrated during the younger years, when it comes to the later years, if the coaches have not been paying attention to full skills development, then that child is going to suffer.
Well, there's a lot for us to actually think about in that particular regard. But as the time continues to run and flow, I know you've got an assignment. You're going to be leaving us very soon, and then the kids will follow. So generally, who are you going to be facing, and generally, how will this Craven week actually pan out for you?
So we always know our first fixture, and the second fixture is always determined by the result of the first fixture. So we play Greekwise on Monday the 3rd. However, before that, on Friday, we have a warm-up game versus the Blue Bulls Academy team out in Pretoria. So we're going to be using that game for us to be able to see just how far along we've come. With it, we will have a Saturday and a Sunday light session for us to then be able to finalize the starting squad for the game versus the Greekwise. So the second game we'll only know at the end of the day on Monday. But our last game is always versus Namibia, and I mean that's the international that we always look forward to, and it's a huge highlight for the kids to actually be able to get a full cap for the national team at under 18 level.
All right, so as we're sealing this off, last year you had a great side. You had the likes of Edward Sigauke, Daniel Erasmus, Cody Grant. I mean, we can go through that entire list. Fantastic players who are also now being considered part of the high performance setup for the under 20 squad, which we know you're part of the technical team for that. Generally, how are you feeling this year?
I think this year I'm a bit more pensive, but that's usually a good thing because once you relax too much, you tend to overlook a whole lot of other things. Like I said, we've got a very diverse sort of like team, and it takes time for them to gel and come together. I'm equally excited in the prospect because I know once they just come together, we will have a fantastic team. But it's just taking a bit longer than I would have been comfortable with. But I suppose that's part of the coaching job. Every year is going to be different, and the challenge is why we're here, and hopefully we'll rise to the challenge.
Oh, yes. Apparently, comfort is just one of the luxuries that coaches don't tend to get. But Marvin, thank you so much for your time. And we wish you the very best of luck as you're going down to South Africa, as well as your continuous endeavors in terms of bringing rugby development to these youngsters. But thank you so much.
No, thank you very much for having me.
All right. So Marvin has got a very tough task. He is going to be going down to South Africa with our under 18 Craven weak side. But we're wishing him the very best of luck. The best of luck to all of the young lads as well. We are getting out of the high school banter where mad dogs can be poodles, where rams can become lamb chops, where dragons can fail to find the fire, whichever way it is. But we are wishing them the very best of luck as they represent the nation.
CBZ Bank brings you more convenience and more smiles. Introducing CBZ Remit. Now you can send and receive Forex anywhere in Zimbabwe without a bank account. No hassles, no stress. CBZ Remit is safe, secure, fast and reliable. Who can use CBZ Remit? Anyone. CBZ Remit is perfect for both CBZ account holders and non-account holders. To send or collect cash, all you need is your national ID or valid passport. US dollars or rands accepted. Receive your cash at any CBZ branch near you. 40 branches available nationwide for your convenience. CBZ Remit is very affordable. Charges only 2% off the money sent. Send and receive your Forex anywhere in Zimbabwe with CBZ Remit today. CBZ Bank. Partners for success.
Welcome back to the CBZ Ruck Show. We've got our upcoming fixtures for this weekend. Some mouth-watering stuff. We are back at Peterhouse this weekend where it is the Sevens competition, and that is going to be boding really well to give up-and-coming youngsters who can get the opportunity to play in the Sevens, Ruby, with the older guys and the guys that are representing Craven Week, and that's going to be exciting for the youngsters.
Oh yes, it's going to be exciting. A number of schools that will be there. Actually, I'm not so sure whether they were playing with the numbers here because it's the Peterhouse Sevens and there are 7 schools playing. So it looks like it's going to be interesting nonetheless. nevertheless. So Peterhouse themselves as the host, they've got a select side that is going to be there. St. George's are also participating, and of course Ricky Chirengente, they will also be scrutinized because we know he's part of the Cheetahs setup. St. John's College are sending aside. Hellenic will be scrutinizing them because Daniel Hondo as well is a former Cheetahs coach, a Cheetahs player, so we'll be expecting high things from him. And then Prince Edward will be there. CBC, I'm sure Prince Edward will be wanting now to stamp their authority after that cancelled fixture if they do meet CBC. And then finally it is Wise Owl, who have also been included there, who are really coming up the ranks in terms of the rugby. So I think CBC, I think Wise Owl there will actually pose a very serious threat in terms of sevens. I think they play very good sevens.
Well, that's mouth-watering stuff that's coming up in Peterhouse, at Peterhouse, should I say. And also looking at Loma Gandhi. It's their 40th year this year, hosting Falcon. Ruvi, you're going to be there. That's going to be some really firing stuff.
Oh, yes, it's going to be good. I think it's going to be a tough outing for Falcon because going and celebrating that 40th anniversary for Loma Gandhi are going to want to prove a point. And more importantly, amongst the sides, Falcon is going to be missing more players due to Craven Week, whilst Loma Gandhi is really only going to have 1 or 2 players that they're going to be missing. So there will be more of a strength side as compared to Falcon. But Falcon have said, no worries, we take it on the chin, we're going to play. And if they win, I think they'll have more bragging rights. So it's Mad Dogs versus the Bisons. So let the Mad Dogs maybe take a chunk out of the Bisons' meat, or maybe it's the Bisons who are just simply going to ram the Mad Dogs back into Chinoy.
Oh, the CBZ Ruck Show bringing you all the hot stuff and the good stuff and the funny stuff as well. So good stuff coming through on the CBZ Ruck Show. We have got our presenter's license coming up next, and stay tuned for that one.
With CBZ Touch, pay for whatever you want. Transacting on the go. With CBZ Touch, a diorama bills, take insurance, special loan. With CBZ Touch, pay for whatever you want. Transacting on the go. With CBZ Touch, a diorama bills, take insurance, special loan.
Well, your final segment here on the CBZ Ruck Show, it's all about the presenter's license, where we can say what we want, when we want, and about what we want, and let the heat come.
All right. Well, I'm going off on a rant. I think this weekend we saw some fantastic rugby, but also at the same time we saw some disappointing things. 3 fixtures that did not happen for various reasons, and 2 of them I find them almost inexcusable. We are thankful to CBZ Bank for being able to bring all of this action, to be able to invest in us putting together the stats and the rankings and the results and to try and make sure that the attention on rugby is there. But it defeats the purpose when somebody says we are not playing our fixture because we are writing exams. I think you're not the only ones writing exams. Everyone is an academic institution in terms of schoolboy rugby, but when we have committed to a fixture, let it happen. I think the worst part about it is then you go ahead and you make a fixture behind everybody's back, and then you get defeated in that fixture. I think that's what makes matters worse for me, Rob.
Ruvi, it's unacceptable. You know, if you're looking at the limited amount of games that the teams have to play, the preparation that goes into those games, and then you cancel a game using exams as an excuse, and then the next thing you're playing a game, that to me is unacceptable. I mean, stick to your fixtures. Make sure you pitch up there. Make sure you pitch up on time. All the planning that both teams have to plan. Both teams are within that exams sphere. So put it together. Pull it together, and Ruvi's going to finish you off.
Oh, yes. And then the other one was also quite interesting. Gateway unable to go to MCC to fulfill their fixture, and apparently that one was on the basis of there was no accommodation at MCC. And I find that quite tricky because they did host a debate tournament, an ATS debate tournament at MCC. So where did they put the others? I'm sure a classroom or two with blankets, and even telling your opposition, fine, let's please make sure that your kids come with enough blankets, because it's very cold out in Gweru, and yes, it is very chilly in Gweru. The boys come there, they fulfill the fixture. Once they're done and dusted, they're going back. It's not like they're staying for 2 weeks. They are not the unwanted house guest that are coming in and staying for a month or two. They're just coming there, fulfilling a fixture, and they're going back. Okay, you didn't have the accommodation. How about you traveling to Gateway? Who would have hosted you? You play your fixture. You could have traveled very early in the morning. Gweru to Harare is really not much of a tough ask. You come to Harare, maybe travel at 6 o'clock in the morning. By around about 10, 11, you are there. You play your match at around about 12 or 1, and by about 3 o'clock, you're done, and you're making your way back. By maybe around about 6 or 7, you should be in bed. So I think at the end of the day, as the schools, we need to take these things seriously. Yes, I might come under some flack for this, but I think it's necessary that we point out where we are dropping the ball, and we are disappointing our kids. We are disappointing the preparation that has taken place, and we're ultimately wasting some of the resources that would have been invested for these fixtures to happen.
Well, our presenter's license is all about what we're seeing out there and where we can better it. So the schools out there that are letting us down, please pull your socks up and let's get out there, stick to your fixtures, make sure that you cover your fixtures, and most of all, we will be covering all of that on the CBZ Ruck show. So make sure that you're in line. Ruvi, just to finish off, big game coming up, the Gandhi Falcon. Who's your money on? Be careful, yeah.
Sorry, Stevie. I think Loma Gandhi have got a very strong chance. Falcon are missing close to eight of their own players from the first team, and they'll be having to bring in a lot from the second team as well as even the thirds to try and make sure that all the teams are fielded. So I think Loma Gandhi has got a far stronger chance of making it in this particular fixture, and they're on home turf. They are celebrating 40 years anniversary, but I believe it's going to be a cracker. It won't go quietly into the night.
We're covering all of that on the CBZ Ruck Show. Next week, you're going to be seeing it. Reminder, you can follow those games on Kairos Sports on all the social media platforms. That's all coming up live this weekend. Ruvi, thank you very much. It's been a good one. We just want to say thank you to CBZ Bank for bringing you the CBZ Ruck Show. Reminder, catch it all on Kairos Sports. From us, catch you next week. Cheerio.